Hello and welcome to Sam Not So Wise. My name is Sam. So, of course, we are all different kinds of readers. We all go about choosing what the next book is going to be in different ways. But one thing that most of us have in common is that itch for the next book, the next new thing, something that will sweep us away, blow our minds, or kind of move us in a special emotional way, something new to get obsessed with. This is one reason why TBR videos do quite well on YouTube and are so popular. But there are also kind of almost the opposite of that, those readers who regularly go back to their favorite books in series, reading them as if they are like their favorite comfy blanket or something like that. I'm somewhere in the middle. I try and make rereads at least 10% of my reading, 1 in 10 of my books. So this video is going to be about why I do this, why I like to reread some of my books. 8 reasons as to the benefits of rereading. I'm very busy at the moment, so I kind of just threw this video together before I go away. So with that, and much further ado, let's talk about rereading books. So the first and most obvious reason for rereading a book is getting more from the book itself. When reading for the first time, even with books that aren't necessarily complicated, it can be easy to miss many subtle clues from the author as we get swept up into the story and maybe reading pages quicker than we should just to find out what's going on. But upon reread, knowing the main beats of the story allows us to be able to read closer into the text. From this, we not only get enjoyment of picking up on new information that we missed before, but it can really help just deepen our understanding of the book and therefore our entire perception of it. It can really change your mind on the book and your feelings towards it. In my short time in my English degree so far, the little literary analysis I've done really kind of, the lecturers really stressed that to get everything out of a book, you need to reread it at least once, preferably more, because you do just miss stuff on the first read. So obviously reading it again, maybe reading it a third time, really gives you a full picture and allows you to pick up so much more. One benefit is kind of a high likelihood of enjoying the book you're going to read if you choose something that you know you have loved before. Reading one that is like a favorite of yours is just highly likely going to be a lot of fun to revisit. You are going to enjoy this book a lot, most likely. This can be hugely useful if you're in some kind of reading slump. You're reading stuff you're not getting along with, you're feeling a bit bored, not necessarily wanting to pick up a book. There is nothing like when you're in this mood, there's nothing like picking up a book you know you love, that you feel comfortable with, and reading it and enjoying it, and it can really just boost you into a reading mood again. Rereads are great slump busters. This can also be in the form of kind of a comfort read. You know, I know many people make a tradition of reading their favorite book every year. Maybe they have a Christmas read, they have a summer read, they have a Halloween read, something like that. It can be comforting knowing that you're going to really, really enjoy a book that you've read before. Somewhat related to this last point is the fact that you can assess if a book still holds up in your estimate. Something maybe you read a long time ago, see if you still have the same opinions about it as you did back then, or whether a book's status as a favorite may just be down to nostalgia. Perhaps there's a book you read, 5, 10, 15 or more years ago that holds very special memories for you. Rereading it can confirm this for you. Now, of course, this does have an inherent danger that maybe a book that you really loved all that time ago doesn't hold up, but this, for me, doesn't really diminish the importance of that initial memory, and the benefit of it is it serves as a lesson as to the evolution of your reading over this time and telling you more about your taste now, which can therefore inform your future reading. So you can find out if you're right to have loved it or not, or just find out more about your reading tastes and how they have developed. Somewhat in the other direction from this is A book you read previously and found to be kind of middling, something you thought was okay but not bad, not good, could rise in your estimate upon reread. I have read books that were kind of lauded, universally loved, and just found them okay on a read, only to reread them later and then become in love with them because of rereading them at a different part of my life. This is especially important as, like I said, it depends when you read it in your life. It's very often down to your mood when you read a book, and therefore offer different experiences at different points in your life, or even just, your level of reading. Maybe you tried to read something and you couldn't quite grasp everything in it, but as you read more and become a more experienced reader, you can pick more stuff up and enjoy it a lot more on second read. A perfect example of that for me, the professional Sam here, picking up his books late, is Catch-22. I first read this when I was like a teenager, and I DNF'd it because I was like, what the hell is this? And then a few years later, being a bit more wise, I reread it and it was absolutely bloody brilliant. So I find it super beneficial to reread books that are popular, they're well loved, but things I found okay, and see if later I can enjoy them more on a reread. Somewhat related to the slump busting of rereads is that rereads can really work as great palate cleansers. Say you are reading a huge and complex series, as I am now with my last book, The Fallen, which just kind of challenges you with every single page, huge books, 10 of them, whatever. Sometimes we need to read something in between those huge series tomes to kind of reset the brain and be ready for the next volume. Reading something familiar to you can do that for you, where you can kind of switch off a little bit more and then just enjoy the ride. And something I use for that, for example, is Terry Pratchett. He is a wonderful palate cleanser reader in general, but I've read the whole series, but I tend to read 2 or 3 a year as rereads in between the heavier reads, just to refresh my brain and have a nice little romp in between the big, hard, serious stuff. On a more personal note, I don't know if I've said this before on the channel, but a big reason I reread is my awful memory. I forget details quite easily, and I'm often left with just kind of a general feeling of the story and the book and the themes, and just kind of memories of a few key events. So rereading something that I liked before, but I've forgotten a lot of details of, lets me just become reacquainted with more important parts of the book, to an extent where sometimes it often feels like I'm reading a story for the first time again in many ways. So for example, I've reread a couple of culture books recently and I forgot plenty, so that when I was reading it, a lot of it was again new to me. So if you have an awful memory like me, rereading is an absolute boon for people like me. Another great benefit, kind of an obvious one to rereading, is reduction in buying books. I know a lot of people have kind of maybe problems with the fact that they buy too many books. I know that I find it hard sometimes going past a wonderful secondhand bookshop. I did that just the other day, bought a new book that I didn't necessarily need. So I don't really have much money or a lot of space in my house. These shelves are now being double stacked. I have other shelves that are completely full. So rereading means that I am spending less on money and cluttering my house a lot less. Now, my wife really approves of this, so maybe your spouse might approve of that also. And for me, it also just kind of helps reduce some of my consumerism, greed, guilt I sometimes feel from my buying addiction. So yes, if you reread a lot, you're going to save money and you're going to save space. The final reason, a personal reason as to why I reread a fair amount, is down to, I'm going to say, obligation. I'm trying to think of another word that fits better, because obligation has a negative connotation, but what I mean is through reading with other people, read-alongs or whatever. So there are two big reasons as to why I reread through obligation, and one is the book club that I run. For example, I run a book club here in Reykjavik, and it's a democratic process where I let the people put up 3 possible suggestions for a read in the book club. That gets voted on. So I don't necessarily have much choice over what's being read. So if something comes up that I've read before, I'm not going to say, no, you can't read that, I've read that before. So I've reread quite a few books through book club, and then I get all of the previous 7 benefits that, you know, through my rereading. One example being the most recent reread, I can't quite remember, is The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. Really enjoyed it the first time I read it, but the second time through really allowed me, as I said, to pick up on a lot more smaller details, and I just had a wonderful experience rereading it and getting more from it, and it's just made me love the book more. So isn't that brilliant? The other one is I've done 5 buddy reads with my friends Bart and Whitney, and a couple of those have been culture books by Ian M. Banks, my favourite author of all time. I'm not really complaining that I have to reread my favourite author and my favourite sci-fi series, so you know, that is wonderful to me, and we have plans for reading more culture books together because I'm absolutely loving going back to that world. So that is another reason why I have reread several books, and another reason why I will continue to be rereading several books. So that is it for today's video. Hopefully a little bit of a shorter one. As I said, I am kind of short on time at the moment, lots of work and lots of travel. So, but anyway, if you've made it this far into the video, I thank you so much. It really helps. Talk to me in the comments about rereading. Do you reread, or are you one of the people who... I know some people just don't reread anything because they're always wanting to read new books, which I totally understand. Which kind of person are you? Are you somewhere in the middle like me? I'd love to hear about whether people reread or not. And also let me know other benefits, if you do reread, that you get from rereading a book. So if you're new to the channel, please think about subscribing and joining my journey. If you like the video, please press the like button. But that is it from me today. So I will see you in another video soon. Goodbye.